Oh, hello everyone, my name is Ariana Akbari and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is my series on how to heal yourself. I don't know what's going on with my words. How to heal yourself and heal the environment. It's kind of like a how-to guide based on my experience in the environmental movement. For further background, I'm the founder and executive director of Climate Justice Texas. We are a youth-focused environmental conservation organization based in mostly Southeast Texas, but East Texas in general. Yeah, so more on that soon because we will be officially relaunching in 2025, and I'm so excited to be doing that and to see what comes of that. So many thanks to the Bridge Movements program, which is the incubator program that accepted Climate Justice Texas, and we've been working with them and with my incredible team, especially Stevie, Brittany, you're my girls, and shout out as well to Valerie, Bailey, and Paige, who have also been incredible. Yeah, but I digress. Anyway, I guess maybe I don't digress because today's topic, or this episode's topic, is about, it's loosely going to be titled something like Boundaries, Connections, and Walls, Navigating Relationships in the Environmental Movement. Now this is way more challenging than one might initially assume. It is arguably like the most difficult part of being in the environmental movement. And I'm someone I'm somewhat of a lifelong extrovert, and I've always loved talking to people, working with people, giving back to the community. But I've really struggled in the environmental movement with this combination of like how to build connections, where to build boundaries, and like navigating walls and like where, like understanding walls as well. Because I think that we have a lot of dialogue about boundary building in our society, but not a lot of understanding about like what a wall is, like the difference between a wall and a boundary. There's also variations in terms of connections, right? Like there's a spectrum of like, how is that connection going to progress or whatever. So I just wanted to speak a little bit about that. I think my biggest advice here would be, so let me tell you a little bit about my journey and what I learned and where I messed up and where I succeeded. So initially, whenever I got into the environmental movement, there were two key areas that I approached it through. The first one was reaching out to all the environmental organizations that I could and establishing relationships with them. And the other one was in reaching out to my former local connections and trying to build bridges with them to also move things forward. And what I found in the first case is with the environmental orgs, I think like, and maybe this is with, okay, yeah, with the environmental orgs, I found that like there's a lot of variation in environmental organizations, and some people are doing a lot, some people are saying a lot and doing less. Some people are actively fighting against people wanting to do things. So I think what I learned in the environmental movement the most actually is that it is important to, I think where I messed up is I didn't have enough boundaries at the beginning, and now I've learned how to establish boundaries within the environmental movement because there are a lot of people who will like lash out randomly in the environmental movement because like they're frustrated, right? There's a lot of high emotions in the environmental movement, and I think that has been really difficult for me to navigate, especially because I come from like an architectural, academic, like clean-cut background, right? And so like going into this arena where people were just like, all the time, I think was very different. And so yeah, so I had to learn how to establish boundaries and be like, there's another thing in the environmental movement where like organizations will just ask and ask and ask for things, right? They'll ask you to do this and do this and do this. And if you're someone like me who was really like is driven and is like, yeah, I'm gonna do it, eventually that's a really good way to get burnt out and build resentment against an organization that is technically like exploiting your labor and like your intellect. And so that's something I've had to learn in the environmental movement, is like to build boundaries there. And to also navigate, like, I think there's a lot of people with like walls, right? Where they, actually, I'm gonna move on to the community part, because that's also where there's a lot of walls. So that was my experience with the environmental movement, and where I failed and where I learned how to build boundaries. And I think that it's really important for you also to understand like your limitations, right? Like there's a desire to do. We all wish that we could do everything always for all time, right? But we are people and we have limits. So I think it's important to like protect your peace to a good extent and like accomplish what you can accomplish. And if you can't do more, that's fine. And also recognize that other people's emotions are not your responsibility. That's their responsibility. So, yeah. And going off of that, the second area where I tried to like build connections was with my old connections in Texas, right? Like I was born here, I grew up here, and like there were a lot of people who I still deeply cared for and wanted to like replenish those relationships because they had been so good in the past. And what I learned there is that people change over time. Shocker. People change over time, and like a lot of people get crazy. Like the times are difficult, I think, for people, and like I don't know what's happened, if it's like social media or like smartphones or globalization, I don't know, but like people are real cray cray out there. Some of you watching might be cray cray yourselves, but we still appreciate you. And so what I learned there is that like it was another, I think what I learned in reaching out to the community is that I actually could do less as well. Like I didn't actually need to reach out to the community so much, I think. And that was another area where I got really burned, because like there would be a lot of people who like wouldn't have as much like experience as I did, or have as much like a strong as like intellectual background as I did, or like even just be like nice to be around, you know, and they could be in a position of power, right? Or like even like a position of power, a position of influence sometimes, right? And there could be a very obvious like issue in the community or in the society, and people would really like stonewall, right? You would just meet like nothing, and people would just like, they would just veer off course and like do something really bad, right? And this happens so much in Southeast Texas, and probably Texas in general, and maybe even the United States. I don't know, I'm suspicious of all of you right now. And yeah, what I learned there is that really the most valuable community connections that I ended up having was just with like my friends, you know? So like the girls on my team, I think I even like had to uncover the misogyny within myself, right? Where I was placing the like, or like also ageism, right? But like where I was not giving enough credit to young people, because I would, these older people who were like in positions of power, I would reach out to them. I was like, this is such a great idea. And they would just like do nothing and then like go the reverse, right? And the people who really stepped up and have been like so smart and like so strong, so incredible, are really all of these like young women, and like, you know, I guess my sometimes my family, I don't know, and like these kind of people, right? And so I couldn't rely on those old community ties, and I shouldn't because they're not good. The ties have gone bad. And so I guess my other advice there is to like embrace friendship, you know, like your friends are actually probably really like smart, capable human beings, and you can build something great with them. Yeah. And that's all I have on this episode. That's on navigating relationships in the environmental movement, on boundaries, connections, and walls. And love you so much. See you soon. I might make another one in this outfit, so don't be embarrassed of me if I do. Bye, I'm Ariana Akbari. Thank you so much for watching.